what's going on? It's Gabriel. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how to play a board game. Today I'm going to be showing you how to play chess. So let's get started and start the video. Let's go. So this is a classic game, chess, and it looks like a checkered board, but it's not checkers. But anyway, you have to have the black square in the left corner or the darker square in the left corner so that both opponent starts like that. And then these are the pieces. I'm going to separate them. Okay, so usually the lighter color goes first. It's just how it is. This game traces back to India. Found out. Did not know that. That was cool. Yeah, so anyway, you separate them. And then you got all the pieces separated. There we go. Now it's time to orchestrate them and put them back piece by piece. So I'll just separate them by piece structure. So these are the pawns that I'm laying up, but I will just show you them, just organize them in piece, separate them. You got two knights, you got two rooks. You put all the pawns together, two rooks, two bishops, and a king. So let me start with the pawn. The pawn goes there, all in alignment. Boom, 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 and boom. Probably, you know what? That was fun. I wanted to break down the pieces. I just sped it up to make the process faster. This is a pawn. It looks like that. Boom, structure. Boom, that's a pawn. The next would be, I guess, or at least that I'm going, is a knight. A pawn is worth 1 point, by the way, if you're following the point system. So that's a pawn. Move that out of the way. This is a knight. Looks like a horse, but I don't know if this is focusing. This is a knight. This right here is a bishop. Boom, boom. That is a bishop. Okay. Next piece and ranking. Oh, both the knight and the bishop are worth 3 points, by the way, if you're wondering. So they're both valued the same. But I'm going to go over the movement structure. The next one would be the rook, where, you know, you could call it a castle if you want to. But it's technically called a rook. The next piece that is strong is the queen. The queen is worth 9 points, I believe. Strongest piece of the board, most powerful piece, the queen. And then the last but not least, the king. King in all is what ends the game. If you get the king in check, then you win the game. But anyway, I'm about to go and dive in these pieces and how they move. Okay, so this is the layout of the chessboard. It's always going to be pawns in the second row. Boom, boom, boom. So that's just an aerial view. Pawns in the second row. Then you got the rook, knight, bishop in the right corner. Rook, knight, bishop. In the left corner, rook, knight, bishop. So if you always want to remember it, the rooks go in the corners, then it goes the knight in the second spot, and then the bishops get the third spot. And then how you decide on this, the queen always matches the lighter square, and the king goes on the darker square. And that's how it is. And then on the opponent side, it's the exact same thing, except the queen matches the darker square, king matches the lighter square. But at the same time, it's rook, knight, bishop, rook, knight, bishop. And the pawns get the second layer. So that is the piece layout and the structure. But as of course, this side would go first. So basically, that's how we're going to go from there. Okay, so the pawns usually can just go straight forward. So on the first turn, initial turn, they can either go 1 spot forward or 2 spots, but only on the first turn can they go 2 spots forward. And basically how the pawns work, there's 2 like that. A pawn can go forward or it can attack diagonally. So it can only attack diagonally. The pawn attacks diagonally, but let's say there's a pawn like that. You can't move forward. They both stop and you can't move forward until basically if you moved here and another pawn here. And if a pawn took this pawn out, then the 2 pieces can move forward. But that's the only case scenario that a pawn can move forward. So that covers the pawn. Okay, now the next piece I'll talk about is the knight. So the thing about the knight is it's the only piece that can hop over other pieces. So the knight can only move in L shape. So 1, 2, 3. See, it went like 1, 2, 3, or it could have went here, 1, 2, 3. But it's, so basically, if it's on a red square, it can land on a black square practically. So it's the only piece that can hop over pieces. And basically, 1, 2, 3, make it its way downtown. And basically, it can hop over pieces. But case scenario thing that you gotta think of, that if a pawn is here, it cannot land on top of your pieces. It can attack in the 3 pieces. So let's say the knight was somehow, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Sometime miraculously it came off this scenario. Then the knight can attack 1, 2, 3. Attack takes the pawn, and boom. That's the only scenario that the knight can attack. Now I'm going to switch it to the bishop. The bishop, now you have 1 on black and 1 on red. Same with the knight, you have 1 on black and 1 on red. Same with the rook, 1 on black, 1 on red, or like 1 on the dark spot, 1 on the light spot. Anyway, the thing about the bishops is that they can move diagonally. So they can move diagonally like this, front, and they can go diagonally backwards, but they can only move diagonally. So that's a good indicator of them attacking. And I meant to say this, that every piece can move backwards except for the pawn. The pawn is the only piece that can't look back. Once it moves forward, it can't go backwards. It can't go like that. Wrong. It can only go forward. So the rook is a piece that can go horizontally, like back and forth, left and right, and vertically, up and down. Forward and back. It's the only piece that can do that. But additionally, I'll talk about the queen. The queen can't jump over pieces. So remember, the knight is the only thing that can jump over pieces. The queen can do anything that I mentioned. It can go diagonal. It can go side to side, back and up and down, back and forward. It just can't hop over the pieces. So if you want to get the queen out, you have to be strategic, move it diagonally, or play with getting it out. But that's all you can do, and that covers all the pieces except the king. So the king in itself can't hop over pieces. It is pretty much like the pawn, where it can only move 1 space at a time. Boom, boom, boom. The only scenario where the king can move space is if you castle. So castling is just basically a fancy term where if you haven't touched the rooks, then like that, if you had a scenario like this where you haven't touched the king, you haven't touched the rook at all, then you can literally move the king 2 spaces to the right or 2 spaces to the left, depending on which rook you want to castle with. And basically 1, 2, the rook goes around the king here, and boom, there's the castle. And it tucks the king into this corner. But keep in mind that if you do it over here, it's different. So let's say you had this scenario where, you had your bishop out, this, and you moved your queen here, I don't know, and you did here, see, 1, 2, and then this goes over here. But notice how the king is closer to this rook. Long story short, that's the video. Honestly, if you want to learn chess, the best way is to just trial and error and pick up a game with someone. And if not someone, I would recommend chess.com. You can download it on a smartphone or an iPad and go from there. You can get on a computer as well and play. Sorry, I'm organizing the chessboard as we speak. But you can basically play online if you want, if you have access to a computer and the internet. Other than that, that's the video. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.